Awake TV. So today, Sue and I are going to talk about understanding multiple realities. So, Sue and I came across Daniel Scranton's channeling a few days ago, and then we've been talking about this subject like in previous episodes, but we think it's a really a good idea because more experience of collide ourselves with multiple realities or experiencing in one moment and then shifting to another moment happens, and then we can share our personal stories of our experiences and stuff like that, and then what you can how you can notice when you are experiencing yours.
Yeah, I just want to quickly say that episode that Erica was telling you about, it's Daniel Scranton, Multiple Realities, Timelines, and Versions of Everything, the channeling by the 9D Arcturian Council, and it's on YouTube, March 29, 2022.
Yeah. So what did you think about that channeling, first of all?
Well, I first want to say that remember when you introduced me to Daniel Scranton,
Mm-hmm.
I had a weird reaction because he records his
Mm-hmm.
actual channeling process in the beginning before the
Mm-hmm.
message comes out, and it was just too weird for me. I was like, what the hell is that? And so I just want to quickly say, I realized that it was a synchronicity that Erica was suggesting Daniel's work to me, because after I got past that weird, in my opinion, it was weird, but it's not weird. Everybody channels the way they channel. Once I got past my affliction with it and started really listening to Daniel's messages, oh my gosh, it just opened my world up again. I mean, along with all the other teachers that I've come across or spiritual people that share their information, Daniel just really clicked with me. So I just want to say to everybody, when if you tune into it, his work, and you start to get a little funny feeling about how he connects to the council, just either scroll forward a little bit until he's actually connected and he starts talking, but try the message, give it a shot, because we're just not, as we're moving to 5D really and higher dimensions, we do have to, and I admit that I had a judgment, okay? We have to move away from judgment on how people receive messages and our connections that are coming very quickly with the galactics. People, beings do things in different ways, and there are beings that communicate telepathically. So, I mean, we have to kind of like shed our judgment of how we communicate or how we connect. I just wanted to quick put that out there.
Yeah,
What
and
did I
I
think
want
of
to
his
add
video?
I want to add that for extra assurance. So Daniel is introduced by my guide, and Archangel Michael gave me long lecture about how deceptive 4D beings are, blah blah. So I had this you know um, instruction to my guide and angels: do not let anybody, including channeler, come near me until I'm ready. So Daniel is happened to be the one who got introduced through my guide, my angels, you know, to
Hmm.
listen to.
Hmm.
So I was watching Daniel. Of course, I can read the vibration of the human being. So I I decide what I watch based on the person's vibration. So back then his vibration was okay, So I said, okay, it's good enough. Daniel's vibration is pretty high right now because
Oh yeah.
like years of vibrating, with 90 Acturians, you will kind of merge yourself into that vibration.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so people may think like, oh, he's making funny sound and doing all this hand gesture thing, and you never know what he's connecting to. The thing is, 90 Actuarians are one of my guide, they're not going to be main speaker to talking to me daily. They used to be. Now it's Syrians, but they still are my guide. We work together, and then because I listen to Daniel, and then I take Daniel's private channeling here and there, the voice I hear, because I hear the voice of beings in different voices, but Daniel's voice is 90 Hungarians when they're talking to me about what they want to talk about. The voice is Daniel's.
Yeah.
So he's very authentic, clear channel.
Yeah.
So his message, I really connect with or resonate with. And then a lot of times, people may say, I channel, so what's the point of listening to other channel? Well, why
Oh,
not?
wow.
It's still fun to listen to. It's still fun to take the session too, because it's nice to hear, even though you can connect with those beings on your own, nice to hear through other people
Well, I
physically.
have an opinion about that question you just posed. Why should we listen to others? Confirmation, for one. As you said in the beginning of our session here, you and I have been talking about these concepts that Daniel presented in the episode I mentioned, which hopefully you can link it in the
Yeah, I
comments.
will.
Okay, cool. You and I have talked about this, the information that he presented. So, what does it do when we hear it from another source, another person channeling? It confirms, um, and also it helps us to see things from another vantage point. In other words, um, we have a message that we've presented. We're going to present it again because it's just that important. And then people can hear it from different vantage points,
Yeah.
which I think is always helpful in the learning process. They say when children are learning new concepts, they need to hear something, over 100 times before they start to really, latch on to the knowledge. I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels true. Like the more you practice your instrument, the better player you will be.
Hmm.
These concepts are a little bit heady for most of us when we first hear them, because I know from my own experiences in my 20s, when I heard these concepts, I pretty much rejected them almost outright. But then there was a seed planted in here that, my soul was talking to me. I just didn't realize it, which was saying, no, there's something to this. You need to look more into this. You need to find out about it. And so as I did that over 30 years, now it's like really solid because I kept practicing it and hearing it said by different people, different teachers, different spiritual people. And then I started over the 30 years really applying it in my life and seeing how these things I was hearing actually were happening, right?
Yeah.
Because I was consciously looking for the evidence. And as I kept seeing the evidence, it's just more and more solidified. So that's why I think it's important to hear it from different sources. This is
Hmm.
why I tapped into it when I heard it from Daniel, because I know you and I have talked about this, and I went, oh, this is great, you know? And with things moving as quickly as they are in our realities, timeline shifting, reality shifting, multiple realities, obviously it's a topic that we need to talk about and revisit often, because people need to understand how they create their own reality. And,
Yeah. And
it's a biggie.
it's really important, like you guys to understand. Like we do watch Tarot by Janine. It's enjoyable. But
Yeah.
even that, it's really important to decide what you want. Just because she read a card, but some part that you don't resonate with, right? Um, in my case, like the last reading of April, she was talking about, oh, it takes another year or years to build a financial system or whatever, like structure. She was talking about that. To me, like that's not my timeline. It's already placed, QFS.
Hmm.
So everything will good to go. I mean, building new society, structure, all that kind of stuff will take time. Depends on the timeline. It may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, who knows which timeline you are at. And then you have a choice of deciding what you want and then start vibrating according to that frequency. So
Yes.
even Daniel's channeling of the Actuarian councils, they are talking about there's some of the version of them, they don't even exist in our reality to appear through Daniel to share their wisdom and knowledge, because that version of them.
Well, they exist, but they made on this other timeline, what you're talking about, they exist, but their consciousness is different in the sense that they believe in no interference, that we need to, so some other version of them in another reality is they're there, but they choose not to talk to us because they want us to figure it out on our own.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the important thing is this, also this content, every content, the reason why we're bringing this up over and over, so you guys become responsible creator.
Yeah.
So we do shift our timeline all the time. Timeline is not linear. Even if you go to personal tarot card reading, and then the person gonna read whatever gonna happen in 3 months. But if you worked on yourself, and then the timeline change because you're no longer in that timeline because you shifted to higher timeline, right? So multiple reality, parallel universe, parallel reality exists, and then my modality is utilizing that. So it's fun, matrix energetics. But whole point is, when I was doing matrix energetics, I can share with you guys a really, really funny story. The founder, Richard Bartlett, or co-teacher Melissa Joy, she's my mentor, but they have been teaching like, every time we do matrix energetics, something really weird happen, like restaurant appear, restaurant disappear. So we heard all this meaning of stories, something appear or something disappear. But you hear as a story, but unless it happened to you or happened to your friend, it's not you don't believe them, but you are like, that's not my reality, right? So I was going to matrix energetics seminar in Germany. I become friend with an English guy, and then his hotel was 2 stations away from where we are at. He told me like, like every day I go back to my hotel and talk to the bartender at the pub. And then me and him, we meet up and then we go to the seminar site, which is not like, which kind of like complicated way to go to. So we usually went together to the site, and then he told me, like took me like 45 minutes to go back to the hotel last night. And I was like, what's happened? And he was like, I couldn't find my hotel. And then I was like, what do you mean? And then
Oh
he
my
was like,
gosh.
it's disappeared. So usually like I go through that street, and then you see the gas station. Then when you make a left, there's a hotel. So I was like, I made a left and there's no hotel.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
we did like a major matrix energetic stuff on the before that he's changed, right? And then I was like, wow. And then he said, I decided to go other places to find my hotel because the hotel has to be somewhere. And he said, well, I found my hotel when I walked straight and the hotel was there. So I was like, what the fuck? And then he decided to go into the pub in the hotel, and he
like
spoke,
usual. Yeah.
And then he spoke to the bartender, which he speak with every single night, and asked him how long this hotel has been here in this location. And then this bartender, confirmed it's always there. And then I was like, what the fuck, He was like,
was it the same bartender?
Yeah, it's the same person.
Okay.
So he shifted to one reality. He was there yesterday with me to new reality. Hotel is no longer on the turning left side, but
Yeah,
straight.
yeah.
And I was like, wow, I was thinking that's tripping. And he was like, yeah, we heard from Richard and Melissa. They always talk about, they try to go to the restaurant and then next day it's gone. It happened to me. So I was like,
Yes.
wow, that's tripping. And then I took another seminar, practitioner seminar in Baltimore. And then I gave my luggage because I couldn't go into my room before like seminar starting. So I gave my luggage to the hotel. And then what hotel did was he gave my luggage to someone else.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And then this person is a man. And then this person was leaving um, on that day. And then
Out of town.
yeah,
Hmm.
well, leaving the hotel.
Right.
He checked out. And then he was leaving to some other state,
Yep.
like driving. So
Hmm.
I found out that much, and then I was like, what the fuck? And then what happened was, long story short, I couldn't get my luggage at all last like 4 days. So I did shopping and everything, but point is, I got a phone call from Matrix Energetics office. Before then, I was called to do they usually do demonstration healing, not the demonstration matrix energetics to teach students, but they need a test subject. So I became a test subject 3 times during 4 day seminar, which is really unusual because you have 300 people and they always point at you to go up on the stage. And every time I wanted to talk about my luggage, but they didn't, right? And then I spoke with Melissa when she was like getting out of the hotel. And then I was like, Melissa, she told me what's going on. And I was like, oh, Melissa, I lost my luggage. It's gone. And she was like, you'll find it. So I was like, okay, maybe she sees it somewhere in quantum field, you know. And then what happened was I got a call from Matrix Energetics office and they told me, oh, here's a person who has your luggage. And can I give your number to her? And then they're like, oh, she happened to be interning Matrix Energetic Seminar. I was like, wow, that's not the same person, the dude they told me they gave my luggage to. So I connected with her, and then she was like, you don't believe what happened to me. But since we both take Matrix Energetics, I just gonna tell you what's happened. So she came from where she is to Baltimore with her sister, and they're very neat. So they're like, we only had 2 luggages in our car, and then by the time to go back to where she come from, they made one stop, and then they came home, and the next day when she was going to teaching, she saw my luggage on the passenger seat. And she
Wow.
was like, there was nothing on my passenger seat. And your luggage appeared out of nowhere. And I was like, what the fuck? And then she said, oh, by the way, I'm happen to be going to New York in 2 weeks. Do you want me to, can we meet somewhere together and then I can give you my luggage?
And if you had just heard this story and not gone through it yourself, you might not have been able to believe it as much. I almost feel like that happened as a synchronicity to show you how powerful matrix energetics is. And, whenever we make an intention to shift our reality, how powerful that is. Because, it's really an internal job. I mean, that was mostly what Daniel was talking about, and you and I have said in the past. And so, on top of your story, I want to talk about just a little bit about Dolores Cannon because, she's my mentor as far as going into the quantum healing and her technique. And I've read her books over the years, and actually, I'm working on some work with a friend in Sweden, and we're basing our format on how Dolores did things. But one of the things that scared me was that when she talked about New Earth, it sounded like our friends and family members, the ones that didn't raise their vibration enough, were just going to disappear out of our reality. And that bothered me for some time. Like there
Yeah.
was definitely Earth that was going to separate, and here's 5D Earth and here's 3D Earth, and they're not that far away from each other. But I'm going to be here and they're going to be there if they don't wake up. So I think what that did was it made a lot of people, and I'm inferring some things here, but if I took it that way, I think other people might have taken it that way, and they
Yeah.
started getting really concerned about waking up their family members. They really wanted, you know, what we call sleepers, people that aren't aware, consciously aware of the matrix. We wanted to wake them up. We felt like it was our duty to wake them up. And so we make videos and we talk to everybody. And we basically started getting kind of pushy with people trying to wake them up. And the reason that doesn't work, and I also think that there's not going to be two separate Earths, and neither of the tweens should meet. I think there's one Earth, different dimensions.
Yeah.
Right. So we can
Exactly.
still see people that are in 3D. We can still see people that are in 4D, and of course interact with, 5D. It's our choice. That's the point I'm trying to make. So I'm not putting Dolores down. She gained through sessions what she could and told us, like, as a reporter, right? This is what came through. This is the information. And she even called four of her books The Convoluted Universe because it was a mind pretzel, right? It's hard
Hmm.
to grasp that sort of information. But what I think we're doing now is we're adding to those. We're not saying you were wrong, but what we're doing is we're saying, okay, this is how multidimensionality actually works. And, um, you know, Daniel presented that very well. I hope you guys will check out his YouTube, because he does have a written part. He has a transcription of the channeling, which I don't think I've seen before, but it's right there in words. So if you don't even hear everything he's saying, it's there. You can read it. And I've actually downloaded it and put it in a file for myself so I can refer back to it whenever I want to. But
I want to add something. So it's really important for you guys to listen to his channeling, because light code was sent while he's channeling. So reading, if you don't have a time, that's okay. But it's really great to listen to, because it's not a word he just transmitting. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, no, I actually, and the same thing with you when you channel Ashtar, and any of us that are working with these higher level beings, we're also transmitting light codes. So I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a great point. But I'm going to get to the meat and potatoes of it, which is we can only change ourselves. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
when we do, others then become we move to another reality, and others are a reflection of ourselves at that point of vibration. So we're meeting with another version of the people that we know in our lives now. Once we change that reality, we can't change them, like externally. Nobody can change another person. We may be able to say things that, kind of help and convince people or put the thoughts in their minds, but to meet a new version of the people that we want to be with and have in our lives, we need to change ourselves, our own vibration, our own beliefs about things. And then once we shift internally, we find ourselves, as Daniel said, in a new location. It's a new dimensional location, which means
Yeah.
the people we encounter in that new dimensional location are also a different version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all, and I think this point is the biggest point, this is all by soul agreement, because we are not multidimensional anyway. There's an aspect of Sue and an aspect of Erica and an aspect of each one of you that exists on many realities, right? They're already there. It's just activating the consciousness when you get there. That's by agreement, right? So
Yeah.
that's how we can interact. It's not that that person was left behind in another dimension, and now that you're in 5D, you're never going to see them again. No, that's not how that works. We still have the people in our lives, friends, family, right? If their soul chose to have energy in that reality, then you will see them.
Yeah. And you are the creator. So, you know, I did learn my lesson again. I was listening to Janine, and then I didn't know about Bill Cooper. So
About
I
who?
decided to read his book, and then I read only one chapter that they decided to take out, because if it's taken out, it must be important.
Wait,
So
hang on.
I
Who are
read
you
that
talking? Wait,
chapter.
Erica, who are you talking about?
Bill Cooper,
Bill Cooper? Okay.
he's the original person who wrote the book, and then about original conspiracy theories, which I don't think it was conspiracy theory. Whatever the stuff he was talking about, people were talking about that in 90s, like Asia man-made weapon to kill certain kind of people from certain kind of racial groups and the gays. It wasn't conspiracy theories. I didn't read any book, but people around me are talking about this, like regular
Hmm.
people. So it
Yeah.
wasn't really surprise or anything. The whole point is I read that certain chapter, and then I could feel the vibrational change right away. Like it went down, it dropped immediately, from like, wow, I'm so happy, to boom. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to. I mean, he wrote this book for awakening or truther or something. It's nice. If people resonate, they can read. But to me, I immediately decided to not to read anymore,
Yeah,
because
because you already know this.
that too.
Why keep going? Why keep going back to the energy of it if you
Yeah, but
already
whole
know it?
point is like I was curious, because this is a new person I never met or know about, and then it was talked about, so I was curious, like, what did he write? The whole point
Mhm.
is like, when you choose to align yourself with the vibration, um, you can feel like right away with your body, or I can feel the vibration, but I'm pretty sure people can feel with their bodies or emotions, right? If
Yeah.
you're no longer happy and chippy when you saw the movies or TVs or read something, that's part of your creation, to create a shape and creating. So it's really important to be mindful, to decide whether you want to continue reading or stuff like that. Because like I immediately, reminded that part. And next day, I happened to watch Daniel's channeling, and then, 90 Actuarians are reminding me of that. Like, are you going to pay attention to Cabal, or are you going to pay attention to flowers? So I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to Drag Dungeon podcast. Like these gay guys, they talk about really good review of the TV shows. Really funny. So, I already listened to most of them, but decided to re-listen because they are so funny. So it's like we need to
It's
be.
interesting because when you said that, I'm always like, flowers. I have gardens. I love being out there. I love the animals, the birds. We're trying to figure out the bird songs. So,
Yeah,
whatever it is that brings you joy, that's much rather than, because like I said, we keep going back into the energies. Like after you know the information, you know it. You know there's a cabal. You know that they controlled humans on earth for thousands of years. You know that they've manipulated everything. You know that they've done horrible things. Why keep going back to look into it or reread it, even if it is another person's version, if that's going to bring your energy down? You're doing it
yeah,
out
new
of
information.
curiosity because there's a piece of information that you didn't know and you want to be knowledgeable about it, fine, but still you got to watch your vibration.
Yeah,
Because truthfully, when anybody starts talking about military people going in the dumbs and finding what they found, I turn it right off. I can't listen to that shit. It's way too dark for me, and I don't need to know exactly what they were doing to those kids to get a full picture of what was going on. They were energy. They were energy vampires. They were stealing their light and their energy. I don't need to know the details. That's just disgusting and horrific. And in my mind, like I hear those kind of things and I can't sleep, or I have really bad dreams. What's the point of it? I don't even hear it. I won't hear it.
Yeah, I
So you
mean,
switched to something that was enjoyable to you, and that's the best choice.
yeah, so that is the whole point of the thing. Like we need to be very responsible and aware. I mean, I was like, yeah, we all have a curiosity, like, oh, I didn't know about this, so I want to find out. But like after you you read something or finding out, and then kind of like ask yourself, how are you feeling right now after you read the piece of whatever. Like, I'm not saying like, whatever the stuff you get dropped from Telegram or whatever. A lot of times I get super excited, like, wow, like we're physically proceeding, you know. But if you don't get that kind of like positive excitement because you get physical evidence of, wow, things are changing really fast, then being aware of what kind of a vibrational change you are experiencing right now. Because if you do that, you immediately shift to the other timeline,
Hmm.
whatever timeline that is.
Yeah, and it's a worthy point. I know we've said it. I hate to be redundant, but it's just so important. We can go between realities, multidimensional realities, or timelines, whatever you want to call it, instantaneously.
Yeah,
So, you could be going along, you wake up, you're in a great mood, you got a good attitude, you're doing, really well. So chances are, you're high 4D, you might even be 5D, 6D, whatever. And then you encounter information or have an interaction with somebody, or you decide you're going to you get curious about something on the news and you're going to look into it, and then boom, you've you've dropped into a different dimensional frequency, and um, just for looking into it. um, so be careful with curiosity. I mean, if it's knowledge that you already know, trust it.
yeah, and then
Know that you don't need to know every single thing about it.
yeah,
Um,
you don't. And
because
then
and then, so say you do drop down into, some kind of 3D, 4D dimensional thing. You can pull yourself back out of it again pretty much as quickly as you went there, but be conscientious that that's what happened.
yeah, and then plus it takes, unless you're skillful, immediately going back down is much easier than going back up.
Yeah,
That's why like higher beings are saying that we need to be mindful what we expose ourselves to, right?
absolutely.
Or like,
Absolutely.
even even let's say if you're really good at finding the positiveness of everything, what we talked about last time, even if you get exposed to seemingly negative information, but you are the kind of a special person who can find the positiveness and get uplifted by reading it, even though majority of people don't see it that way. If you are that person, that's okay too. But like, higher
Hmm.
beings are generally like telling us to focus on the nature, focus on something you like, because that's easier. You don't need a special skill to lift yourself up from when you shift down. You know,
I got
that's
an
like,
example for what you just said, like a real life example. Brent and I were sitting on the front porch this morning, and
hmm
he was playing a video where Aaron Judge, who's a Yankee, was working or being friends with a child who has cancer. And the whole video was about how he had come back to this child because the child he was a baseball card fanatic, and how this child wanted a special card. So what Aaron Judge did was he went and took a picture of him and the child in their first meeting, and then added some more Yankees to it, and then they had a card created, very specially for this child. And I could hear Aaron Judge's voice, I could hear the child, and uh, the voice sounded very weak. Okay. So I'm listening to this story and I could just feel my energy going up and up and up because of what this beautiful person did for another human being, just to lift his spirits. And then Brent says to me, and I'm not criticizing, I'm not judging, I'm just saying how two different people can take something out of the same event
Mm-hmm.
differently. He started becoming sad about the
Mm.
child, the tears in the eyes and everything. And he says, I don't know how these guys do it, how they interact with people that are really sick like that. And they just keep so upbeat. And he says, here I am, I'm just sitting here crying. My opinion on that is that if a person focuses on the sick child, they're going to have a sad experience.
Yeah.
If the person focuses on what this beautiful human being is doing to uplift another human being, then you have more of a positive light experience from it. It's the same experience. It's just
Yeah.
two people experiencing it differently. So what are we focusing on? That's my
Mm-hmm.
point with telling the story. And if you're not, because I used to be this way, if you're not the kind of person that can watch a story or see a really sick person and be okay with it, when I was a child, I used to burst into tears. We'd be at a restaurant and I'd see somebody that was disabled or mentally, physically, whatever, or struggling, and I just would like immediately um, have this empathy for the sad part of what I was seeing rather than understand. Because, when I was a kid, I didn't understand that we have different soul plans and that, people do come into this existence with disabilities or problems or
Mm-hmm.
illnesses on purpose. They do it on purpose, because they
Mm-hmm.
want to have that experience. When I was a kid, I didn't understand that. All I could do was see the disability. Now I'm much different. But so maybe if a story or a situation in your life, you haven't gotten to that point yet where you can see the other side of it, um, maybe don't immerse yourself in those kind of stories
Yeah, like
until.
that's true because like even like when you read like one of the member of the club, and then you get pissed off because this person is a member, blah blah blah. I mean, those feeling of anger is not really creating a high vibrational reality. So
Oh,
it's
so you
good.
mean like if you were reading about a Hollywood person and you find out their cabal, is that what you mean?
It's just whole point is it's a good idea to focus on what kind of world do you want to create. So whatever the information, whatever the person, or whatever the stuff you come across to, do you really want to create my reality based on this feeling? Could be anger, could be sadness, could be hate. Do you really want that? You know what I'm saying? So that is a good question to ask for yourself. And if answer is no, don't delve into it. Like don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to be ignorant. Your ego wanna say, "Oh, you're being ignorant." Like you decided to not to. I mean, seriously. After you shift to 5D, you're gonna have more wider perspective to know something because you have a knowingness. So you don't really have to collect the information anymore.
Yeah. I want to mention one other part of what Daniel was talking about, his download from the Arcturians, which is why do we have multiple realities? I mean, they didn't come out and say this is why well, I think they did actually. Why did humanity and all souls create multiple realities? Because we're all
Not
source, we
just the
come from source.
humanity, but galactic too. Like we do have a
All of us,
multi
everybody, from
everybody.
from source on out, this was created by all of us in this universe. Why?
Because
And
we
he
are
said, well, hang on, he said,
uh,
which I agree with 110%, is that we set this up taking responsibility for it. It's not, we're not victims. um, because we could have a new experience of them, we could have a new experience of ourselves. Everyone we encounter, by agreement, is a different version of themselves in each dimension. And so we could explore our own creationship by how are we creating ourselves to be, how are we experiencing ourselves, but we also understand that once we create a higher state of consciousness for ourselves, then we then meet other people that are also behaving with higher consciousness. And I think that's brilliant. You know, many, many ways to know ourselves and others. It's a playing field, really. What's your thought on it?
Yeah, I mean, we are the small creator. So prime creator wanted to experience a lot of different lives and a lot of different realities through us. So that's a multidimensional when we look at the multidimensionality. So we are the mini version of prime creator. You know, we're little creator. So if we construct our world based on that way of construction of the reality, that totally makes sense. And that's also like when you use the left side of brain, it's a very effective of one gathering the information and then also growing yourself as a soul in most effective manner. So you don't have to incarnate yourself like trillion of times because everything is happening at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. And then,
Yeah.
it's kind of to me where magic comes in. And because for me, it is magical just to change our thoughts, words, and deeds changes our whole reality. That's it. It's like equivalent to having a magic wand and going,
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't like, I don't like the way what I've been creating thus far, or maybe I'm just waking up and realizing that I'm the one creating it. How can I change it? you
mhm.
know and then so this day and this moment point, I'm weaving this reality, and then maybe tomorrow I want to try weaving another one, and keep adding to it. It's just like, well, geez, now that I've got for example, now I've moved to the place I really want to be, where I feel like I love it here and this is where I'm meant to be. I've weaved that into existence. Now what am I going to weave next? Maybe I want to get back into playing instruments again like I used to for a lot of years and I loved it, or I want to pull out my art supplies and start painting again, or I want to meet people like us, and bolster my group of um, people that love these topics, that just love talking about it and kicking around ideas, raising their consciousness. So maybe next I'm going to weave myself a new group to hang out with, like right here in Florida where I live. You know,
Mhm.
there's no end to what we can create. And people call it manifestation. That's fine. It doesn't matter what you call it, but you're creating it. You have to take responsibility for it. So that's the biggest point of what we're doing today, what we're talking about. And I
Yeah,
think,
and then we create based on our vibration. This is why we are focusing on, because our vibration is influenced by emotions, because human beings do have multiple emotions compared to higher beings. So it's harder to, you have to be master of emotions. Means if you can be zen no matter what happening, and then that's good because your vibration is stable. But unless you reach that zen point, a lot of us will get triggered, right? Whatever the stuff we see, whatever the stuff we read. So
well, a
it's
great example of that is, are you focusing on Ukraine,
mm-hmm,
or are you focusing on Mike Rowe, all the great things he's doing with people to help people that are helping other people? Or do you want to focus on your backyard because the sun's out and you're watching your dog play in the rain, snow, whatever? I mean, there's such a huge difference in the energy. If
yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
focus on Ukraine, I'm promising you I'm going to feel like shit. Even if I believe that Putin's a good guy and he's getting rid of biological factories, that's still the cabal narrative, right? So even
well,
if
it doesn't matter
if
which
you
way
if you believe
negative
Putin's good or bad,
negative that is.
there's still a fight. That's my point. And that's a
Yeah.
type of energy that's fight energy. And then I'm going to go tell, or you're talking about the jab or COVID or whatever. That's fight energy, that's separation. Or are you going to focus on people that are doing good in the world? Are you going to focus on, um, you know, maybe your friend just brought you some, surprised you with some flowers or cookies or something. I don't know. There's a million examples of changing the focus, but are you fighting or are you peaceful? Are you seeing the good in humanity? Are you seeing that the light overcomes the dark? And
Yeah,
just believing that the light
because
overcomes the dark without needing the proof.
yeah, I mean, focusing on war, it's not helpful. So, it's not the being irresponsible or stupid if you decide to focus on, like me. I watch, like, drug dungeon podcast a lot lately because they are fun. So more I
Yeah, have some
listen to,
fun.
it is. And then they make a fabulous, funny comment about TV shows, I'm not pretty much not fan of. So it's really nice to listen to their brilliant remarks on how they create, because that's my interest. Like, I love creating all this content. And then if they talk about stuff in such a funny way, and they do have a point, and then it's really fun to listen to, really. And then you actually laugh. So some people can say, "Oh, how high vibe it is when person is bashing on TV show or whatever." But if you happen to really find um, so much laugh, and then you feel you're uplifted because it's really funny, there's nothing wrong with that. So you can find your own way of how can you find anything to uplift you. Could be gardening for you, Sue, and then could be anything for you guys, like whatever you like
I want to
playing
tell
with
you what's
dog or watching dog video or whatever that is, or cat.
I want to tell you what's happening with us now. We've Brent and I like to watch crime shows because we compete a little bit to see who can figure out who done it before the other, and yeah, it's kind of brainy stuff that we like to do, um, based on the writers, like how they usually write a story. Like Benedict Cumberbatch's oh shoot, I can't think of it. He's the great English inspector. Frick, I can't believe it. I'm trying to tell a story and I can't think of names. I have trouble with names. Anyway, there's differences in writing on how they play a show. But anyway, we noticed we're watching Bones now, with David Bournier, and because I liked his work in Buffy and that and Angel. It was interesting and fun. But what we're noticing is that the cases that are coming out now, um, and this show was, aired in early 2000. It has a lot of revelation of what the cabal was doing, right? But instead of going, oh, I'm going into that dark energy and this is horrendous and cannibalism and all that, no, I don't go into the energy of that. But what I do is I go into, and you're a movie producer, so you're going to understand me when I say this. I go into being interested in how they're presenting it, like how they let the message out without really saying it. Because this was, I think, 2003 that these shows were around those years. It was way before the Janet Osabard's Fall of the Cabal and, the real deep details coming out. But I don't lose any of my vibration watching it because, number one, I'm not focused on cabal energy. I'm focused on how they're presenting it, like how they creatively showed it to us without coming out and saying it. And also, we still have our competition of who's going to guess who done it based on the writing. So that's fun. So I'm actually watching what most people would consider dark material, but it's my intention of watching it that makes the difference on how it affects me. Does that make sense?
It does, because you see, like, I love original Gossip Girl, and then I saw the comments, people saying, "Oh, that show is so toxic." They talk about toxic relationship, but the way the characters are written is very entertaining. So when you go through the characters' lives and then you feel like, oh, you are rooting on one character and then going through her life, then you actually did go through her life without dying, like I talked about last time. So you do learn the lesson
You gain the
without
perspective
experiencing, yeah, you do without
without having to
experiencing,
live the life. Yeah.
yeah, without experiencing that kind of a toxic relationship in your life, but you can kind of like experience simulation through TV or movies without really living in that life, which is bonus, right?
So it's
Because you
kind of
don't,
like you're saying it's like the anthropological point of view, like an anthropologist studies cultures to learn more about, why they did things a certain way. It's more of like of a journey of discovery, and without actually having to be in that society and learn it through experiencing it. So we can look at, like, you watch the Gossip Girl and you could see the characters and what was happening in their lives and what it might be like.
yeah. And then since you experience the character, you meet the person like that in your like real life, you can have a compassion instead of like totally being judgmental, you know,
Mhm.
toward the person. So when it has to written well, you know, I don't watch like horror movies or horror TV because it has a certain frequency, it has a fear frequency, so there's no way to turn that on, so I don't watch those.
Yeah, you're not really learning anything from those either, other than don't go in the garage, run away.
Well, the thing is, like, I used to love horror movies, and I still think like The Omen, the original, or other like masterpieces are amazing. But after me having my ability to feel the frequency, it just doesn't do any good by watching it and then feeling all this fear frequency throughout whatever 90 minutes.
Well, there's a
That's my
big difference
personal
between
choice.
there's a big difference between the older horror, like you talked about with The Omen. That had a really good story.
It does,
And it
but
had really good character development, because I think there was Omen 1, 2, and 3, so you could follow the main character through all three. But versus Halloween, which really has no storyline. I mean, the only storyline is what happened to Jason when, you
Jason
know,
does have a background story. I watched a lot
it,
of old ones, right? So
yeah, but I mean, it's more of a scare you effect than built on character development, you know?
that's true. But whole point is like what kind of major frequencies occupied in those. Yeah, it
Yeah.
has, because if you're a big horror film fan like I used to be, and then when you watch those, you get uplifted and you get excited. That's how your thing that makes you happy, right? That's fine. But me, I feel vibration. I can no longer feel excited by any kind of well written show. It's well written, some of them are masterpiece, but I choose not to watch them because I don't really feel like feeling that vibration fear 90 minutes, 120 minutes, no matter how well written it is. So
Hmm.
each of the people, you have your boundaries. So you gotta find out your own boundaries, like what kind of stuff is totally uncomfortable for you to expose yourself into it, you know? And then
Hmm.
some people say like some of the comedy movies or comedy stuff, like they're totally stupid. What's the point of watching it? But when you're watching it and you get uplifted because it's so stupid, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
You get enjoyment out of it instead of like watching something like, for example, news, and then your vibration is automatically like dropped because of what you're seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
Because we get affected by it, by what we watch or read or whatever. So you gotta really know yourself. It's not like everybody is like the same. So we create our reality in our own way, but you have to know what's your thing and what is your not thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that ties into other conversations we've had in the past about no gurus and be careful of you know a guru's creating their reality. Maybe you want to create something different.
Yeah.
You hear something that a lot of people are following and believe in. Okay, but is that yours? I don't know. You decide. You're the creator. You decide whether that's yours or not, whether you're adopting it. But also, on top of that, um, I'm just personally going to suggest let's stop trying to save everybody around us, because we're going to meet them. It's okay to go ahead and ascend to your higher vibrations. It's okay to do that, because the ones that you want in your life, you're gonna have them there by agreement. They're
Mm-hmm.
just gonna be a different version of what
And
You might be very pleasantly surprised, but stop trying to convince people that they have to wake up, because all you're really doing is keeping yourself from going.
yeah, because I mean, people think we are not a simulation, but in a way, you are inside of your own hologram, and then people around you are kind of simulation, even though it's your creation. So they're not gonna change. They may change a little bit, but whole point is you try to change outside when you're in one reality. It's not gonna happen. If you really want to change it, shift your vibration means work on yourself and then shift yourself to more positive timeline. Then people around you are going automatically like different, like my
They're
back
gonna be a
said
reflection of you.
same
Yeah,
thing. I mean, it's not always a reflection of you, but reflection of your vibration.
that's what I meant. Reflection of the vibration. Yes.
Yeah. So if you happen to have a lot of like fear energy or whatever that is, and then whatever the stuff is derived from that root main energy, right? So whatever the stuff you really seriously want to ask yourself, like, and it's faster if you shift yourself instead of trying to change other people.
I really think that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, that's the
I
only
know in
way.
my life I've tried to change people, and that just doesn't work. Just doesn't work. We can only change ourselves.
And then relationship wise, besides the energy and everything, nobody want to be changed by other people. You decide you're gonna change. So
Yeah.
in order to
Yeah.
have a good relationship with other people, just respect each other's differences. And then if you really don't like whatever the stuff going on in your life, work on yourself and shift to another timeline.
Yep.
100%. So that
Well, if
was
you're
what Daniel was talking about.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So
good stuff. I hope you do post
yeah,
in
I will
the
post that.
yeah, a link
So
to that.
I hope you guys gonna decide. It's always a good idea to find out what your theme of your life. So you can, instead of like going through your life without any theme, if you have a theme, my theme is fun. So everything I decide how much I can have fun out of this and that. So, that's my thing. So when you decide that, you can pick and choose what you want to expose yourself to,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
then there's sub themes that support the main theme. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you can be a responsible creator instead of like being passive.
Or thinking that things happen to you and you have no control over it.
Yeah, or like you decide other people's whatever, the popular opinion or other people's popular goodness, and then you're gonna say, oh, that's what's gonna happen. Okay, do you want that really? If
I
you
gotta tell
100%
you,
agree, whatever the stuff you hear, fine. You resonate with it, that's fine. But if you don't, seriously.
when everybody was freaking out about COVID when it first happened in 2020, I decided from the minute I heard about it that it was just a flu like everything else, and It wasn't going to be a big deal. I was not afraid. I had COVID in my house twice. I think it was COVID. The PCR tests are bullshit. So who knows? It was probably just any old flu or some kind of corona flu. But anyway, it was in my house twice. Did I get sick either time? No. Why? Because I created my reality, which I said, this is not what they're saying it is. I could feel that it was a fault. I could feel that it was trying to create fear. And I could feel that ever since I decided 6 years before that never to take vaccines again for my own reasons. I'm not saying people that take them are wrong. I'm saying for my personal choice, I decided not to take them anymore. That I just wasn't going to make a big deal out of it. Did I have natural immunity or did I, because I created it? I think so. I also took care of my diet and that sort of thing, but I wasn't tuning into the fear. I wasn't believing in the fear. Yeah, I had to put a mask on because I had to go to the store and get groceries, and I lived in New York at the time, so I did that. But a lot of times I'd wear my mask under here, and I used to have a game out of it and say to myself, I wonder how many dirty looks I'm going to get because I'm wearing my mask down here because I like to breathe air, you know? Um, so like you said, have fun, but believing in your health, believing in your immune system, believing in yourself all the way around, that you can create and be what you wish to be. That's big.
Yeah, and then if you're curious about how you can maintain your body in a healthy manner, you can get a lot of information about alternative medicine or herbs. I have a lot of knowledge on that because I'm personally interested in those. But whole point is like what you're interested in, what makes you happy. That's part of taking care of yourself. And then everybody do have a different opinion about something, right? Like how to care your body, for example. So
Yeah.
we are learning how to accept each other's differences. So even though Sue and I, we have pretty much similar point of view on a lot of things, but if I had totally opposite point of view from, that those I'm the one who go to and get the vaccine right away or whatever. There is nothing wrong with these people,
That's right.
like they feel like they get huge effect from that.
They
So
feel they're
they
getting a
create,
benefit, and so maybe they did.
yeah, so they create like this amazing cure from that, and then they are the creating that reality. So it may be working on that way for their
Yeah.
reality.
Yep.
And
Or it
then,
may have no effect at all.
yeah,
Or, you know, it depends because there's been so much controversy about that. And I'll be the first to admit, I was like really railing against vaccines when all of that first started. And then I kind of had a raise of consciousness to realize that basically I am contradicting myself because when I believe that I can create my own reality, but then I go and tell other people how to create theirs, that's me imposing what I'm creating on them
yeah,
for trying to.
yeah,
Not that it worked, but I'm just saying that was, so that's why I stopped doing that because it's like, hey, I can't tell other people what their reality is. I just based on what I think is the truth.
yeah. And
Um,
then that's
because like you said, somebody might take the vaccine and it really worked for them because they believed in it.
yeah, and then they are so happy about it. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna start spearing my information, my knowledge to them to kill their joy. You know?
But I'm just admitting that I did do that for a while. That was my, you know, hopefully I've grown, which I think I have. But back then, it was this whole saving mentality. It was like, oh, no, you just don't know what you're doing. Because we all can, maybe most of us can agree there was an agenda there. But
Yeah,
are we buying into that narrative and that agenda? And does that apply to everybody? Or what about the people that don't even know about the agenda? And
then
they
it does
tell
not affect
themselves
on them.
no effect, right?
Yeah,
So I'm learning so much over the last couple of years, and I was kind of pissed off in 2020 by having to go through it. But in retrospect, in the rearview mirror, looking back, I go, "Wow, I grew so much just going through the last 2 years. How could I be upset about that?"
yeah, and
You
then
know?
gathering knowledge is okay. If you are the kind of people who get excited about it, we won't stop you. But when we are connected to our heart field or the heart center, it will always direct you to which way to go. You don't really have need to have tons of information about something to deal with something, unless you are personally curious to find out like what kind of alternative medicine you can use for allergies like I'm having. That's fine, But whole point is like you don't have to know everything in order to control your world, because you
Yeah,
can't
it's
really
like,
control your world.
yeah, I think the easiest way to do what you're saying is to have faith and trust that
Yeah,
everything's working and you've set your intentions, you've decided what your joy is and what you're going to create for yourself. And now the next step is to release and have faith that it's coming to you uh, through synchronicity, just like how you introduced me to Daniel Scranton. That was a synchronicity. I was supposed to connect with his work at that time, and I'm so glad I did. Um, we don't have to tune in to every um, social media post, even though the group we know we believe in, they might have information that we don't have. We got to also have faith that we're going to have a synchronicity happen when it's time for us to know something. That information will come to us, and it may come in unexpected ways. We don't
yeah,
have
and
to keep
then
tuning in every minute of the day or 5 times a day because we're afraid we're going to miss something.
yeah, that's true. And then just measure your emotion, how you're feeling when you're, reading, watching. If you're still excited, fine, go for it. But somehow you're not, stop. you know. Alrighty,
Multiple
so
realities.
that's what we wanted to talk about today. And next week we're gonna bring more interesting subjects. Thank you so much for watching. Please share, like, subscribe, and then we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.